That's why we focus on traded quantities, because traded quantities tell us who is a player who's on the winning side and therefore will keep his position, and who is a player who's on the losing side and therefore he's in distress, or what we call upside down in our markets, and therefore he will close his position, fueling a further move into the market. Right now, I just want to elaborate over here a certain fundamental point. The order flow chart is not just based on pure buying and pure selling. Price does not move just because 100 people came and bought. Price also moves because there is short covering. Right? Price moves up when there is short covering. Price also moves when there is long liquidation. That means, okay, longs are booking profits in the market. Price can come down.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Am I audible? So great. So we are coming to an end to the 2024 year, and we have one more session left tomorrow for the markets. So let's see what we have done. As always, let's start with the weekly report, what Nifty and Bank Nifty did last week, and we'll also combine it with what has happened today and what we can look forward to. Along with this, we will also have a look at what the yearly levels are looking like and way forward for the year 2025. So generally the volumes come down towards the year end and the first week of Jan. But today was an exception, we can say, because today we got volumes and we got movement both sides in Nifty and Bank Nifty. So anyways, we'll come to that. So let's start with the weekly report. We have the weekly report. The week prior to last week was a trend down one, both in Nifty as well as Bank Nifty. So let's start with the Nifty spot. So as always in market profile, we look at balance and imbalances. So whenever we have a balance, we get ready for an imbalance and we look to trade that imbalance. And then when we have an imbalance, then we are set for a balance to come back into the auction for the market to come back into play. So the imbalance of the week which ended on 20th December was making us prepared that we can expect a narrow range week and a balanced week for the next week, which was 23rd to 27th of December. And you can see the daily charts, all of them were narrow ranges in Nifty spot. And the first 3 days were almost similar to each other. They were the same range and the value also was the same, and the POC was overlapping at 23750. So this 23750 was a level which was pinned, and which is why we had the expiry, the weekly settlement also on Thursday right at that point. So we also saw the option volume building at that in between strike. So that is where we closed. In fact, they did not even give 1 point also to the right to the option buyers. It closed at, I think, 23750.2 that day. So what we did on Friday was we tried to move away from this 3-day balance, but then we made the dreaded seaside extension, and that seaside high was just below this weekly POC of 23956. So as we always maintain on the weekly time frame, we give importance in the spot charts to the POC. So the value in the POC are the important markers. Because it was a trend down week, there was no value. So the POC would have been the important level. Below the POC, we would be bearish. Above the POC, we would be bullish. So here when we got that seaside just below that POC, we knew that the balance was there definitely, but the sellers were still active in this zone. So we went on to almost close at the lows. So this was more likely to be a failed auction because we made an attempt higher and we could not sustain. We got rejected. Although technically we did not break the IBL, but this 238800 was our first hypo for today. And below that, this would act as a failed auction and it would activate the 180R target, which we know what the failed auction does. So the weekly profile post previous week's enormous 1244 point range was an inside one in a narrow 292 point range. So you can see how the imbalance has given way to a very narrow range balance, 292 points. In fact, today itself we had a range higher than what we had all of last week. So this is telling us that the balance which formed last week was due for an imbalance, which is why there was a tough fight and we saw both the buyers and the sellers trying to move the auction in their favor. And we'll come to what happened today in a bit. So the value was also completely inside 23715, 23747 and 23836. We're talking about this 23750 being the pinned level, and we stalled right below previous week's POC of 23956, indicating that the imbalance to the downside may continue in the coming week if Nifty stays below 23799 for a probe to 23681 and 23524. So this weekly report was published on Saturday evening and we already had these levels marked up. And that is the beauty of market profile, and that is the advantage of being prepared. So what has happened today, we will just have a look, and we also had marked what was the level to watch on the upside. 23956 was that weekly POC. We had to get above this for a probe higher. Below this, we were not at all bullish. So this is the weekly profile. You can see it was a nice balance with a prominent POC at 23750. And these were the hypos which we had marked out for today. And let us just open up the weekly chart and see what we have done today. So at the open itself, what we did was we opened below the 23800 level. So we were looking for more downside. But what the AP rate did was it stalled right at this weekly value area low. We did not sustain below this. So that is when the auction gave a change of direction. It was not an easy one way down, although the levels were marked. It did not come in a easy single side move. So we took support at this value area low of previous week. And then we went on to probe higher, completed the 80% rule in the weekly value. And then we went on to make a high of 23915. 23915 has already been marked and it was spoken about. That level was spoken about in the session we had on Thursday evening at 5 p.m. And if you're not aware, let me take you to the daily report we put up, and we have these monthly zones which are marked. So you can see how the settlement day, the rollover point of January series is at 23915. So this level will be important for us all of Jan. So along with this, we have this VWAP and the POC, which will give important on the higher time frame. So as we always see at the top to bottom approach, that reference was always there for us to watch out for. So when we made that high at 23915 today, we just stalled below that 2IB mark. So when we are not able to take off that rollover point, it is clearly telling us that the buyers are not doing a good job. Similar to what we saw on Friday, we were not able to take off this POC, weekly POC. And today we were not able to take off the rollover point. So once we stopped this one time frame probe higher, once we broke below the lows of F and got back into this weekly value, there was a 80% rule which triggered, and the target was this value area low. And because we were the value area low did not give a gate pass in the morning, if that broke, we were looking for the references which we were had already marked, which was 23681 and 23615, which were there in the hypos also. So these were the levels which we were looking. 23681 and 23647, 23615. So what we went on to do is we left an extension handle at the IBL and then went on to complete those objectives. And we have formed a nice neutral extreme profile to the downside. So we have left a selling tail at the top and we have closed around the lows. Although it was not an ideal neutral extreme, not closing at the extreme, but still the close below IBL suggests that the sellers are still in control. So this is what has happened today. So what will be the reference tomorrow will be the 23784. The POC of today would be the level to watch out for. If we stay below this, we are looking for more downside. And because on the monthly time frame also, we are forming a neutral extreme profile to the downside. The monthly setup also is that of a neutral extreme profile. So there is a very good chance that if we stay below this 23784 and 23724, which is the monthly 1.5 IB, we will we can go on to make new lows for the month and test this 23537, which we left on 20th of December. So this is how we are placed in the spot. And if we break below this, we have already discussed on the report how we are looking at a tag of this 23459 and this weekly POC of 23339. So those will be the objectives for the week going forward. So this is how the Nifty spot is placed. Let us now have a look at the Bank Nifty spot. And see what we did on the Bank Nifty spot level. So Bank Nifty also, the previous week profile was a trending one and it had a huge 3130 range, and it was the largest after March to 2022, except for the June 2024 profile where the election results day had a big profile. So what we did was we had extension handles at this 53355 and 52010. So along with singles at 51718. So these were the sell side references, and we are looking for the auction to get into a balance with this as the reference. So what we did last week was we remained in a narrow range, but on Thursday we opened higher, made a drive to the upside, tested the singles. We got into that 51718, but we made a high of 51740. Here again, I would like to say, bring to notice that we stalled right at that rollover point of January series for the Bank Nifty, which is at 51750. So just like we have the monthly zones for Nifty futures, we also have the monthly zones for Bank Nifty. So 51750 is the rollover point for January, which we will track all this month. Along with that, the VPOC is at 53355, the monthly POC. And as of now, the VWAP series VWAP is at 52570. We still have one more session left. So this VWAP reference would definitely change, although the POC may remain the same. So what we did in Bank Nifty was, once this high was stalled right below that 5170750 point, just like how we saw today Nifty spot stalling at that rollover point, Bank Nifty spot also right after the monthly expiry stalled at the rollover point. So that was telling us that the sellers are controlling and we can get a move lower. So what we did on Friday was, but again on the downside, we were getting responsive demand coming in, as we saw in this I tail. So what we did on the weekly last week was form a nice neutral center 313 profile. So you can see how we have formed a nice Gaussian curve. Close is right in the middle. The POC is right in the middle, and we have similar tails at both ends. You have a small selling tail from 51628 to 51740, and we have a small buying tail also from 51030 to 50951, which was the low of in spot. So we have a classic neutral center 313 setup, which was a narrow range of just 788 points and has formed completely lower value. This 51224 is a very prominent POC. And why it is very important, I'll just come in a bit, because it is not just the POC of the week which has gone by, but it is also the POC of the entire 2024 in Bank Nifty spot. So just like how we can see the weekly and the monthly profiles, we can also see the watch the yearly profiles. And in the yearly profiles, this 51214 is the POC of Bank Nifty for the entire year of 2024. So which is why there is a good reason that we can maybe get back and close around this level tomorrow before we get a move in January. So coming back to the weekly, what we were looking for in the coming week, which started from today, is if it remained below this 51129, we are looking for a tag of this 50951, and then this responsive tail of 56862 to 5609. So these were the objectives on the downside, whereas on the upside, we needed some buying above this 51344 to negate 51628 and take out 51750 for a test of 52289 and 52840. So let's see, and we had the hypos also marked up based on that. And let's see what we have done today in Bank Nifty spot. So you can see how Bank Nifty was more bullish of the two, because what we did, we never made a probe below the weekly value. And we went on to almost leave a period buying tail at this weekly POC and made higher highs in the B. So once we got above this weekly value, you can see how the DTPO made a low just above this weekly value area high. So this was telling us very clearly, we had marked that 51344 as our reference. So when it is giving you a pullback low, it is telling us that PLR, the path of least resistance, is to the upside. And that is what we did. We went on to make big range extension in the E and F and got into this weekly singles. 52010 was one reference I had told, we had mentioned in the weekly report. That was an extension handle, and that was not being able to be taken out. The high we made today was, I think, 51980. So 51979 was the high in spot. So once we made that high and we were not able to take off this supply point, this was a very important supply point because it's an extension handle on a weekly time frame. So when it was not taken out and we stopped this one time framing, it was very clear that the upside is done. And you can see how once we got back into this weekly value, the sellers took complete control and we broke this value area low of previous week with an extension handle in I and went on to make a low of 57718. Sorry. So it was very close to that objective of 5686, which we had. That was the last objective for the day, which is the buying tail from 20th of December. So what we have done in Bank Nifty spot also is formed a neutral extreme profile, and it is an elongated one, and we have an extension handle at this 51173. So because we have closed below this weekly value, the PLR will remain to the downside. This extension handle will be the reference, the immediate supply point for tomorrow and the rest of the week. If we stay below this, then we are looking for more downside and we can look for a tag of this weekly VPOC of 5371. On the upside, if we get back above this, then this POC of today 51463 will come into play. And as I mentioned, that prominent POC of 51224 of last week can act as a magnet. So that is how we are placed in the Bank Nifty spot. We will need to see how it goes forward. We are talking about yearly profiles, and this is the yearly spot profile of Nifty. So you can see this is the entire year's profile and how we have formed higher value compared to the previous year. But what we are doing is the POC of this year is at 24143. We are below this POC and the VWAP is at 23636. So today's auction is been between these two references. And once we complete the year tomorrow, we'll mark these POC and VWAP again, and we will see how the Nifty spot reacts from these levels in when we start the new year. So on a broader basis, this will be the value area for the year of 2025, and this POC and this VWAP will be the immediate references. Below these two, we will remain biased to the downside, and we can look for a tag of the HVNs we have in this yearly profile. So this is the spot, Nifty spot, and as I was mentioning, the Bank Nifty spot, you can see how the yearly profile has got the POCs at 51214, which is where we have been consolidating for the last many weeks. So there is a good chance that we close at this POC. But anyways, this is the yearly profile, and like Nifty, we have formed higher value, but the close is not at all a bullish one because we are way below the value area high, and we are closing in the middle. So these are the longest time frame references we can use in market profile, which we will use for swing references. So as I was mentioning, the year-end volumes are on the lower side, so we need to make sure that we don't get stuck in these swipes. We need to act when we have good volumes. So we need to definitely have an edge with us. We need to have a process which we use to take trades. Today was a perfect example. It was a day where it was very volatile and we had big moves on both sides. So unless you have a well defined process and you have an extra edge which you will use for your entry and exits and targets, this market is going to get faster and faster in the days to come. So we need to be definitely prepared best for this. What we do at VMR, we are following a combination of market profile and order flow. So we have been discussing, we have been showing you guys what we do at VMR, and we have been helping the subscribers of VTrender charts to use these features to the max. So coming to today's Nifty futures order flow and profile, we can see how we got this IS plus IS on the 30 minutes. This is the highest time frame which we follow on order flow. So we use this IS plus IS, and this was our reference. And as long as we opened below this, we stayed below this, we are looking for more downside. 23865 was that 180 target from that multi-day FA which we had left on Friday. So once we hit that, we could see the supply was drying up on the lows. The volumes were going down. You can see that in the order flow also. You have, in fact, you have a zero at the bottom. So which is the reason once we got back above VWAP with this green bar, it was very clear that the auction is now going to probe up to look for sellers. And the probe up came on red caught. We got some big greens also, which could be stuck shorts who were getting out. But you can see the order flow chart of today, this high of 24076 is matching with this anchored VWAP which we have from the swing high of 13th of December. So this is why we use these tools, and this is why we have this combination at VTrender, which tells us where the supply can come back in and where the supply is actually coming back in. So once we had this RS bar, it was very clear that this anchored VWAP plus the IS high of 24091 is not giving us any gate pass for more upside. So after that, once we broke below this POC and VWAP of the D period, E period, sorry, it was just a one-way street down, and we were set for a neutral extreme day down. And moreover, once, because this POC 23910, we have already discussed how it was the rollover point, and which was the POC in the morning. Once we got back above VWAP, this held as support. You can see the low of the C side was right at this 23910. So when you know that rollover point is holding, the bias is on the upside. But once it got broken here, we knew now it is time for more downside, and we went on to make new lows. 23784, as you can see, was the objective from this 20th of December profile, which we hit. And again, what we did today in the L period, we made a pullback to this IBL level. So if you understand the day structure, we knew that this is a neutral extreme profile. So once we saw sellers coming back at the IBL, you can see how we have zeros on the buy side and we have some big reds. So we went on to take another long put trade here. Although we did not get new lows into the close, it definitely gave us the first target, and the rest of the position we exited at cost. So this is how we need to make use of a process and the edge. Only then we will be able to survive these kind of markets. So it is very important that is that it could be any process, but you need to make sure you're following it, and you always use it, and you trust that process for whenever you're trading. So coming back to what we do at VMR, we are having a new year offer on all the VMR plans. We have a straight 25% off, and this is valid for I think till this end of week. So people who are interested to joining VMR to get live handholding, we also have live audio sessions every day from 10:30 onwards, where we discuss what has happened at the open and what are the levels which we need to look for. And then rest of the day we are connected through text chat, looking at good trading possibilities and also take trades together. So we have the VMR which you can join. All plans of VMR are eligible for the discount, whereas if you're looking at only taking the chart subscription, all quarterly plus chart subscriptions will be getting the discount. So we have this offer on till Jan 5th. So make sure you start your 2025 with a bang, and are in sync with what the markets are doing, and you don't need to be hoodwinked or be baffled by what is happening in the market, because there is no reason for you to say I do not understand what is happening, because we have the tools and we can with these tools understand, make sense of what the market is doing, and look to take some tradable opportunities, monetize, not just understand but also monetize these things. So a quick look at the bank nifty future chart before we wind up for today. I'll just increase the TPO size because we had a huge 1200 point range in bank nifty today. So you can see how overall, if we see the profiles on the left, we have been in a balance in the sense we have been in a big range. So this 20th December profile is what we have been in for the last few days. So what we did in magnitude today, in fact, we even made an attempt to get about this on 26th, which was the first day of the new series. But then, as we saw in spot, it got rejected right below the rollover point, and we made this B-shaped profile. Today, again, after the open, we had some good volumes which were coming in bank nifty. We went on to see what happened today was in the probe below previous day's low. You can see how clearly in order flow there is no supply. You have zeros on the sell side at the opening bar. So whenever you are getting a probe below previous day high or low, you need one party to show that it is adding positions. So when we are looking below previous lows, and this was right at this HVN of 51,500, we needed the supply to come back, but that was not the case. The supply was drying up. The numbers on the sell side were coming down. So which is why we got back above VWAP, and like in Nifty we saw with the green bar, the B period, we remained above the VWAP, and then we went on to take this selling which had come in from on Friday. So we got a IB30 in Bank Nifty. But what happened here was we went on to hit one previous supply zone. You can see this 19th of December. This was a gap down, and it was a very important profile because this was not just a responsive selling tail. In fact, it was a initiative tail because the sellers had already taken positions on 18th and they forced a gap down. This was a big gap down, and even in spot we saw that extension handle of 52010, which was caused in by this gap. So here we saw when we made an attempt to get into this tail, we got the supply coming back. And on the lower time frame, we even saw the POC shifting higher to this 52274. In fact, we discussed this in the room also. So whatever long positions we were having in Bank Nifty, it was suggested that we book out longs. There was still not a case of a short because bullish. We were bullish. We had made range extensions on 3 TPOs after the C period. So unless we get confirmation that the one time frame is getting stopped, there is no reason to go short. But once in the G period, when once we made a lower low below this 52105 and took out this POC and VWAP of the IB bar, it was very clear that the buying is over and now the sellers are taking control. And then we remained below this VWAP and formed a IS on 30-minute. We went on to test this singles. So that is what happens in market profile. When you get rejected at a VPOC, a lower POC or a lower VPOC, the objectives become the opposite side POCs, VPOCs. So similarly, when we got rejected at this selling tail, the objective became this test of this buying tail. So the auction came down lower, went on to test this buying tail where it finally took support. You can see how the POC is shifted to the lows of 51180. So this POC shifting is a very classic indication in order flow and market profile that if you are in a trade, you need to lighten up and you need to push your trailing stop loss to the nearest reference. So that is the reason what we saw was a pullback in the Bank Nifty back to this 51480 reference, which is also the POC of this IS bar. So we also have a 30-minute IB bar formed. So what it does it negates this IS now. So we will need to watch for this VWAP. It is a neutral extreme profile to the downside. So the VWAP in both Nifty futures and Bank Nifty futures would be the reference for tomorrow. As long as we are below that VWAP, we will look for sellers to come back and take it lower. If we take out that VWAP, we will look for signals confirmation in the order flow that the buyers are coming in, and we look to trade the higher levels. So that is it for today from my side, guys. We are hoping that all of you will have a great 2025, and this has been a very good learning journey at 2024, where we have these bi-weekly sessions, and we sincerely hope we are able to add some uh, edge and arsenal to your trading weapons. So any feedback you have, you can write to us at support@vtrender.com. You can ping me on Twitter. My ID is at Uttam Goel. We have this offer running till the 5th of Jan. So if you're serious about taking your trading to the next level, do think about it and do look to join, make use of this offer. So thank you for joining in and have a great end to the 2024 year, and looking forward to see you guys back in 2025.